Minimum time difference. For this question, we are given a list of time in this format, and the problem is asking us to find the minimum minutes difference between any of the two time points in the list. So take an example here. We have uh, 23:59 and we have 0000, right? So the difference between these two times is 1 minute. So like, I mean, there are two ways to think about it. One way is we can have 23:59 minus our 0, so it will be 23 hours and 59 minutes. And the other way around is consider it as the 24 hours, right? So 24 hours minus 23 hours and 59 minutes will be 1 minute. So 1 minute, the second way is actually less than the first way. So we are going to consider the result as 1 minute. So the problem is asking us to find out the minimum minutes difference between any of the two pair of times, right? Okay. So if somehow we have the time appeared exact time appeared twice, then we'll return 0, as in there is no difference between these pairs, so the minimum difference will be 0. All right. So this type of problem, like when we have this, the intuition is to get out the pairs and then try to find out the difference between each pair and then get the minimum. So that will be n square time. On the other hand, like we can consider sorting them, so which will be n log n. And after sorting, we have a sorted list, and we can just go through the list one more time and find out the minimum difference between two pairs, right? So this will be n log n time complexity. So let's further take an example. So consider we have a list input of three time points. So the first one, second one, the third one, right? So like we encountered before, so after we sort the list, we're gonna try to find out, we're gonna iterate through the list one time and find out what are the time difference between the previous one versus the current one, right? So the first element and the second element will be like 10 hours and 5 minutes. And I mean, after that, we compare with the third element versus the second element, the difference between these two, right? And note that at the beginning, we're talking about like we can consider 00 as 24 hours, right? So that's where we're going to wrap it around the first element to the last element with plus 24 hours. So this is because we need to make sure that it is possible when we consider the time like plus 24 hours minus the previous element will be actually less time difference compared than before. So this is the only thing we need to think about. It's like we consider the list as a circle. We wrap it around the first element to the last, right? So this is one thing. The second thing is how do we represent each of the element so that we can conveniently sorting the array, right? So this cannot be sorted as convenient or calculate the difference as convenient as when we're using a string. So what we can do is we can parse the string to hour and minute, and then we convert each of the string to a integer representing how many minutes this time represent, right? So in this way, we can have an integer list, and then we can easily sort the list as well as calculate the difference different in minutes, and that's what we are going to return as well as a result. Okay, let's take a look at the code. So we use a list to maintain the list of times in minutes, and then we iterate through the time points in string format, parse them out to hour and minute, and then calculate the time. This is how many minutes that time string represents, right? Hour multiply 60 and plus the minutes. And then finally we add it to the times list we maintain. We sort the list, and here is the part we're going to wrap it around the first element, right? So we get the first element, we're going to add 24 hours into the element, and then add it to the time list at the end, because it's going to be the largest time. And then we iterate through the sorted time list once, and compare the difference between the previous element versus the current element. And then if the result minimum difference is less than, is greater than the current diff, then we update the minimum diff, right? So at the end of the day, we're gonna get the minimum time difference after this iteration.